After weeks of stress, heartache, anxiety, and a lot of back and forth, including at the level of state government, central government, courts, Supreme Court, the decision is finally in. Class 12 exams for CBSE board will not be conducted this year. They have been cancelled. An option though will be given to students who want to sit for physical exams when that situation is plausible, just like it was last year. The decision was taken after a high-level meet chaired by the Prime Minister and all the stakeholders this evening. At the end of it, a statement was put out where the Prime Minister is quoted as having said that health and safety of students is most important. He's also added that students should not be forced to appear for exams in such a stressful situation. The important part, the Prime Minister has directed officials to ensure that the results are prepared in accordance with well-defined criteria in a fair and time-bound manner. That's where the question really arises. What is this well-defined criteria? Some are suggesting it should be an average assessment of how the student has fared over the last year. Some are saying over the last 3 years. One formulation is let them give open book exams at home. Let's not have printed papers. Can we take this online? So all of those options are there. Meeta Sengupta, education strategist, is joining us on the show this evening to take us through this. Meeta, first, your comment on the fact that the exams have been cancelled. They've been welcomed by everybody. I think most people are unanimous in saying that you cannot risk having a third wave, risk the lives of students for a board exam at this point.
Absolutely thrilled to hear that wisdom has prevailed. This is a wise decision because it is in the interests of safety, but also technically as an educationist, it makes me happy because there is no way an equitable exam could be conducted in such a situation. Some people who are very rich, who have cars, who drive themselves, would be able to drive to the exam centers. Others would have to possibly take a bus into town, stay overnight in a hotel, putting themselves at risk and expense, and then find their way to the examination center. In such a terrible, terrible situation, there is no possibility of equity in this situation. And exams first have to be equitable. So from both points of view, from the pure safety and health point of view, and from the point of view of an educationist, this has been a very wise decision, I'd say.
Okay, let's come to the question of how they will be assessed now. And that really is the big question, isn't it, Ms. Sengupta? What do you think is a fair criterion of assessment? Because a lot of students give their best for the final examination. Will they be caught unawares or be unfairly assessed if it's going to be an average of how they performed in the last year or the last 2 years?
Right. So one thing we have to acknowledge is that the class 12 examination has always been far from perfect. And when I say far from perfect, it clearly means that it has never actually assessed any kind of merit. It has assessed the kind of resources you have. It has assessed your memorization ability. It has assessed what a great photocopier you are. It has assessed how you're able to crack an exam. That is not an indication of ability for future years. That is not an indication of your being deserving of selection of something else. But we've been given an exam, and therefore we've been doing our utmost to do our very best. I remember preparing for an exam and being totally finely strung, saying on the day I will be a perfect performer. Yeah, I clearly remember that. But the fact remains that the exam was not perfect in any case. The solution that will come up, they will come up with, will be another sensible, wise, judged, experienced solution, but that will also possibly not be perfect for everybody. So that let us realize that there is no perfection in this game at all. There will be some problems that will remain. And for that, there are mitigating things that they have put in place, such as the next exam, that if you're not happy with these results, take that. Now, you have lots and lots of options. The fact remains that in our system, not only does the solution, not only will it have to be fair, valid, reliable, equitable, timely, it will also have to depend upon the amount of trust and truth that we have been able to embed into our examination and assessment. And we are a country where if you give a project to students, they outsource it to a shop for 650 or 1050 or whatever rupees, and they present it as their own project. Honesty has not been part of our system, and therefore trust has not been part of our system. I wish we could trust our students to do an open book exams. I wish we could trust our teachers for complete internal assessment. If we were in that place, that would have been my preferred option. But the fact remains is that we are still a very traditional system. We are a very conservative system. And therefore, my suggestion is a very traditional, conservative, safe option of including the class 10 board exams, the class 11 internal assessments, and the class 12 internal assessments. Because the class 11 and 12 internal assessments have also been under the governance of the CBSE circulars. So there's a system that the CBSE has in place for internal assessments that is as good as their board exams in a way because they have governed it to be so. We need to trust that system, and we have that independent assessment of the class 10 board exams. Now, this is actually more fair than somebody performing at perfect pitch for 3 hours or panicking in that 3 hours into 5 exams possibly, let's say 15 hours of panicked examination. It's
completely, but my point simply, Ms. Sengupta, is like you said, no, I understand, but obviously it would be a fairer assessment to see how a student has performed over 3 hours, 3 years compared to 3 hours. But my point simply is that that is not what the students were preparing for. They have been geared towards a certain kind of outcome. That's how the whole system is, focused, that you have to perform at your peak on that day. So my next question to you, and I know you want to comment on it, but let me just add a question with it. So where do we go from here? So this year is another washout like it was last year. They will come up with a solution, like you said, some will accept it, some will not accept it, but more or less, hopefully it will be a fair and equitable one. You will give options to those who want to retake the exams. But going ahead, does this also give us food for thought on how to undertake these competitive exams in a way which truly assesses the students and doesn't have situations where they have to gather in large numbers? This could be a problem that keeps recurring.
So in fact, this is why I'm actually thrilled and literally excited, almost childlike excited at this opportunity we have to make a clean break with the rote learning system of the past and the bad question design that we had got trapped into the past. We have a whole new national education policy that has already talked about the new type of assessments that talk about application, that talk about critical thinking, that talk about mastery and competence, and therefore the question papers should be designed differently. Now, this was supposed to be a process that would take 2 or 3 years, but COVID has made everything, has crashed timelines for all of us. So maybe we have this wonderful watershed opportunity to enter this new fantastic world of better quality assessment, which means that we need to invest in our country super quick at assessment capacity. Why the nature of a question? Why do you ask a certain set of questions? Why do you assess something with an open-ended question versus a closed-ended question, etc.? Examination design, question design, assessment design, there are very few specialists in our country. We are very good at administering exams. Delivering exams, the administration of exams, are very good at that. How many seats to put out, how many tickets to put out, or how many admission numbers, that is administration. That is not the content and quality of exams. We have this opportunity to, as you say, reboot assessment. This is a watershed opportunity. We must make the most of this and say from now onwards, we will have meaningful examinations that actually test for purpose. There are different purposes to different exams. The class 10 is a different one, 12 is a different one, admission is a different one, competitive is a different one, identifying talent is a different one. Different purposes require different types of examinations. This is the capacity we should build. It's actually such an exciting moment to be an educationist, I must say.
Well, I'm glad you can see the silver lining, and yes, like you said, this could be a watershed moment to relook assessments completely. But for now, relief all around, and many saying that wisdom has finally prevailed, and class 12 students, their parents and their families can heave a sigh of relief. Thank you so much, Meeta Sengupta, for joining us today on the first big story this evening that broke today on the India development debate.